Yeah, I'll get started in a moment. I'm just getting the last couple of things set up and send out, and then we will get started. Hope you all are having a good evening. Just give me one more moment. All right. So this is what I've been thinking with Marcus Cage. I am your host, Marcus Cage. Um, I know you guys have noticed the title. It is Roland Martin, and he is going after a young 21-year-old conservative. And the problem, you know what? I will just let you guys hear a little bit of it. Bear with me. I'm having technical difficulties, so I'm just going to pull it up on my phone and play a little bit of the exchange that goes on with Roland Martin. And I will try to go point for point with the problems with what I feel that Roland Martin is saying and the approach. Notice his approach and his tone, how he talks to the young man.
You can make this possible. Joining us right now is King Randall One, founder of the X for Boys organization based out of Georgia. So, King, explain why in the world.
Now, first thing you notice is he's a young 21-year-old black male who started a foundation. Now, my question would be, if you're bringing him on a major platform where possibly millions of people could watch, wouldn't you at least try to give the young brother a little bit of help in possibly bringing in investors or letting people know about the cause which he's doing, because he's doing noble work? And that's what I feel one of the biggest things that bothered me about this whole interview, because you never even really get into exactly what his organization does, how it was started, uh, how many kids which he has in his program already, how large it is, um, if he's struggling with funds, if he might want to have people who could come in as possible investors. So first off, I just felt that was just kind of misplaced. But before I get ahead of myself, I'll let you hear a little bit more.
You're conservative, correct?
Yes, sir.
So, please explain to me why this bill, why Republicans are pushing for the voter suppression bill when last year we saw record turnout in Georgia. Record turnout. So why would they want to restrict voting when you just had record turnout in Georgia?
Well, let me start off.
Now, note what I was saying right there. He didn't even go into at all what the young man's working on. He goes straight to politics, straight to, I'm a Democrat, you're a conservative. So everything that the conservatives are doing in Georgia, because you're from Georgia, you have to answer for that right now. So let us proceed a little more.
By saying you had me mistaken, I'm not a Republican. I do consider myself conservative.
No. Actually, I didn't say Republican. I said you're conservative.
Okay.
I said you're conservative.
Right, absolutely.
That's what I said.
Right. Yeah, I was saying that because you called me a Republican on Twitter. However, with this particular bill, I don't consider voting my particular fight. I do consider voting an asset to us and maybe something we can use as a tactic to help. But as far as us pushing voting all the way out, like voting is going to be some systemic change for the black community, to me is not the way to go. If you look at the human anatomy of the body has its many different parts. And I do respect you guys' fight, in regards to voting, but I don't consider myself fighting for the right to vote that much.
Do you not vote?
We haven't got anything.
Do you not vote?
Now, see, the points that he was trying to make is the same thing which I echo. And I'm somebody who has voted in every election I could since I was 18. I'm now 40. Well, I didn't vote in the last election, and in the general election, just because Biden, Trump, what's the difference? I'm not voting for either of those because lesser of two evils, you're still voting for evil. So I decided I'm not dealing with that. You guys can have it. So notice he started bringing up all these points that, okay, I feel like the political system has not delivered in the way which I feel it's needed to. So I decided to take things into my own hands and try to start an organization. Now, keep in mind, this kid is 21 years old. His organization, from what I've gathered so far, because I've already watched it through, but it is an organization to help young black males, giving them housing and education. This is what he's spending his time. Instead of being 21 years old and worrying about spring break and just getting through the pandemic and partying with your friends, this is what he's worried about. Trying to take care of the people in his community who are struggling and are not getting the adequate help which they need from their politicians, especially in Georgia. Let's continue.
For me, yes, sir. I vote absolutely.
Okay, so when you say you guys just fight, first of all, there are multiple fights, there are multiple issues we can be concerned about. Voting is one of those issues. Are you not concerned that Republicans in your state are trying to restrict access to the ballot for no reason other than they are pushing the lie that Donald Trump also pushed?
Right, absolutely. I understand exactly what you're saying. However, again, that's not my fight. I believe.
No. I asked you a question.
And like he said there, I get what you're saying, but that's not my fight. Now, if you have this organization which you're trying to run at 21 years old, you're probably going to be tied up with that. So, are you going to want to really spend a lot of time trying to worry about putting a politician in office that's not going to deliver on the things that you want them to deliver on? I mean, basically, all you're advocating for at that point is just somebody to play defense against the Republicans. And I mean, if that's good enough, then okay, I will not bother you at all on your opinions of politics. I will leave you be. But for me personally, that's not good enough. If you hired somebody to do the framing on your roof and they didn't do that framing, would you not keep them? I mean, would you keep hiring these same people to do tasks for you if they are not completing the tasks? And that's what we have going on with our political system. I have volunteered, phone bank, done all of this to watch politicians continuously go in office and do all the things which they said they weren't going to do, which we hope they weren't going to do, which they did anyway.
Ask your question. The question is this here. Do you believe Republicans in your state are wrong to be pushing this voter suppression bill?
Can you give me the list of things that's all on the bill? Because I know you said the voter ID.
Well, no. Here's a perfect example. This particular bill right here gets rid of no excuse absentee balloting. Republicans in Georgia passed no excuse absentee balloting 15 years ago, thinking it was going to help them. They're angry because you had people who voted for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, and also John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock won. So they're changing the law because they're angry they lost at the ballot box. But for 14 years, it was fine.
But even the fact that Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Raphael Warnock, and John Ossoff, they all won. They promised you $2,000 checks, and you didn't get them. Keep that in mind.
Until last year. Is that, again, do you consider that to be egregious on the part of Georgia Republicans? Why would they change the law because they lost? How about making a better argument for the voters?
I agree with you. I do. I agree with you. I'm not against you there. I definitely think that is an issue that I believe you guys could fight. But that, again, voting is not my issue to fight. I believe.
So what's your issue to fight?
My issue, I fight for young black men before they die. And that's what I do in my organization. I do teach.
And right there, what is wrong with the answer? He says he fights for young black men before they die. In the community which I grew up in, we used to feel like if you made it to 25, you were lucky. And so for somebody to be trying to provide and to be a big brother figure, and keep in mind, a lot of us didn't have our fathers around. So to have a big brother who's trying to reach out and help and school and educate kids and house them, keep in mind, he is providing dormitory for free to these kids. It's no tuition involved.
Them to vote, but I don't tell them that voting is going to be the be all end all.
No one says the be all and end all, but it's a part of it.
But you guys promote voting like it's just going to change like the systemic outlook of the black community. That's not where it's at. We have to get out and go do for self in our own communities.
So okay, so define do for self.
Now, when he's talking for some of that we got to do for ourselves, because it's not going to change the things that are going on in the black community. I could go into some of the random, talking points that we've dealt with throughout the primaries and stuff. But I'm gonna bring up a couple of stats, which I have here. Took down a couple of notes. So hold on a second. Hold on. Let's see. Oh, I can't find it. But I have a couple of them. A couple of stats, which I was researching. What you find, which is no surprise to anybody, look at the incarceration rates of African Americans. Then look at Latinos. Now, the population of the African American community is 18%. The last given number that's incarcerated is 34%. Now, why is it so much higher? And I could just leave it at that. But as you look into each different area, the one common thread which you see is that the minority populations are the ones which are much, 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 much more likely to be incarcerated than their white counterparts. Now, you could just say, well, maybe white people just don't commit crimes as much as everybody else. Or you could be smart enough to realize that there's systemic racism that is still going on throughout this corrupt system. Now, we can get in all of the politicians which we want to get in there. The problem is, once they get in office, most of them want to run and win again and go for a bigger office. And so you know what that entails? Campaign donors. Once you get in bed with the major corporations, what normally happens? All of a sudden, all of that talk and, when I get in there, I don't care. I'm just going to fight for the people. And even if I lose, I'm just going to stick to my principles. What you see is they get in there every time it's election season. Then they bring out their little accents to whichever area, whether they're going to a rural area, whether they're going to the South, whether they're going to a Latino area, whether they're going to a black area. Yo, brother. They bring out all of these tactics and promise all of these things. And then once they get in the office, what happens is they pre-decide what they're going to give you. And what happens is that same powerful elite, and I'm not even talking about the donors, I'm talking about just the white politician structure. They are the ones who are sitting there deciding everything. And it doesn't matter how many, if we just get some more women, or we get some more blacks, or we get some more Asians, or it doesn't matter whatever denomination of minority groups that you want to put together, what happens is those people who sit at the top in those key positions make all the decisions. They decide, okay, yeah, you can get the first Native American, triathlon who's ever won the office out of Idaho. I don't know. But what happens is they put them on a committee which has nothing to do with their expertise, which buries them off in a corner somewhere. And then the next person comes up who's willing to play ball. That person goes into the position and makes those decisions. We got to keep in mind just how much money all of these politicians make and think of what their salaries are. I mean, their salaries are a decent amount, but most of their money, which I've complained about for many, many, many years, it comes from the fact that they are the ones who are deciding the laws, and they still have access to whatever investor trading that they want to do. They are legally insider trading right in everybody's face and then telling you, oh, yes, I'm a public servant, when really you're the servant. I'm the servant. That's the truth and that's the reality. And if you think, oh, well, we can just keep voting and voting and voting and that's going to fix it, then I got a bridge to tell you. Let's see. I have a little. Did I have a little bit more? I think I have a little bit more. I wanted to share of that before I end it.
When I say do for self, you shared one of my tweets, my videos, and I was actually a big fan of yours, but you shared one of my tweets when I said black people need to stop begging the government and go and do for self out in our communities. You shared the video and called me an idiot. I didn't see anything idiotic about that statement.
No. So when you say do for self, like what? Explain that.
Okay, for example, here in Albany, Georgia, we complain about our school systems a lot. Many of our young men can't read. They have very horrible literacy rates. We don't have any rehab programs here for juvenile offenders. What I decided to do, I started a program 2 years ago, decided to do for self, and I started taking children into my home. I started taking custody of kids from juvenile court, and I started molding them and training them and teaching them skill trades, etc. Now I'm 21 years old. I just purchased a school here in Albany, Georgia, to combat us being in the government-funded schools that are not teaching our children what they need to learn. So that's what I mean by do for self, simply getting up and going out and do it.
So
I beat the stereotype that I'm young, black in America, and I can't do anything because somebody.
Watch what he does here.
Watch
what he does here.
Teenagers went and go ahead. Me and some teenagers went and bought a school.
Because listen, he's still making good points, and just listen to him all the way out. And you know what? I'm gonna back it up just a little bit, so you can hear what he's saying. And then watch how Roland Martin looks for the one thing and tries to twist his words and attacks him.
Fight for young black men before they die. And that's what I do in my organization. I do teach them to vote, but I don't tell them that voting is going to be the be all end all.
No one says the be all and end all, but it's a part of it.
But you guys promote voting like it's just going to change like the systemic outlook of the black community. That's not where it's at. We have to get out and go do for self in our own communities.
So define do for self.
When I say do for self, you shared one of my tweets, my videos, and I was actually a big fan of yours, but you shared one of my tweets when I said black people need to stop begging the government and go and do for self out in our communities. You shared the video and called me an idiot. I didn't see anything idiotic about that statement at all.
So when you say do for self, like what? Explain that.
Okay, for example, here in Albany, Georgia, we complain about our school systems a lot. Many of our young men can't read. They have very horrible literacy rates. We don't have any rehab programs here for juvenile offenders. What I decided to do, I started a program 2 years ago, decided to do for self, and I started taking children into my home. I started taking custody of kids from juvenile court, and I started molding them and training them and teaching them skill trades, etc. Now I'm 21 years old. I just purchased a school here in Albany, Georgia, to combat us being in the government-funded schools that are not teaching our children what they need to learn. So that's what I mean by do for self, simply getting up and going out and do it. I beat the stereotype that I'm young, black in America, and I can't do anything because somebody's holding me down. Absolutely not.
So a question.
Teenagers went and go ahead. Me and some teenagers went and bought a school, and we just bought a school bus simply from going out and doing work. We decided to go fix our own communities. I'm not expecting anything from no politician. I'm not expecting nothing from Donald Trump Joe Biden or nobody. We're going to go do it for ourselves, and that's what I believe we need to be doing. I can vote, sure, but nothing's going to change in our community.
So you went to the juvenile court system. Mm-hmm. Is that not government?
Absolutely.
So when you say purchase a school, and this school is going to be what? Private school, charter school? What kind of school is it going to be?
No, it will be independently owned. This will not be funded by the government.
No, that's why I asked you. So it's going to be a private school?
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be a boarding school.
A boarding school. And then for the folks to be able to afford to send their kids to the boarding school, what kind of mechanisms are they using in Georgia? Their own funds? Are they using school vouchers? What are they using?
I can't hear you. Say that again for me.
I said, what mechanism are they using to send their kids there to pay for the school? Their own money, or are they utilizing vouchers from the Georgia government?
Absolutely. So for our school, we're financed completely by donors. We have many donors that have given yearly endowments to our school that will be able to pay for these students to.
But you see what he's trying to do there, right? He's trying to find a way to say you're still getting funded by the government to try to make this kid look stupid.
Come to our school for free. Many people believe in our mission, and we're making sure that young black men, where we live, where we don't have any rehab programs for juvenile offenders to even get out of jail and stay out of jail, we have people that believe in our mission that are trying to send children to the extra boys for free. We have many people that are trying to send kids to this boarding school to be able to take care of themselves. That's what I mean by doing for self. We got to simply get up and do it.
So you don't believe that government policymakers play any role whatsoever in being able to impact the lives of black boys and others in Georgia?
If we take them
Straw
out of
man
the
argument
system, we don't have to worry about that. I keep saying
how is that? So hold on. So here's a question. Hold on.
And what I mean by straw man argument is he's making that very vague. Oh, you're saying politicians don't have any effect? Of course they do. But what we're saying is, as far as the things we've needed, they have not been effective. So you stressing so hard for us to focus on the thing that has not been working while he's literally doing something that is working. I mean, you see how twisted the thinking is that, oh, well, you just got to do this and do that. And keep in mind, when Hillary Clinton lost, she got a very, very close margin. It was a close margin of difference between what Obama got and what she got. And to assume that the black community should vote more for the first female woman president, white woman president, over the first black, so-called black male president, that's just white privilege in its own thinking right there. She should be happy that she got the percentage she did. But here was one thing which was never brought up, because people like Roland Martin at that time, when I used to listen to him, at that time brought up, well, the black voters didn't do this, the black voters didn't do that, and all kind of other people brought up those arguments. But the one argument which I never heard any major person bring up is, what about her percentage with white women? Her white women percentage was horrible, but nobody talked about that. If she could have just got maybe 5% more, 6%, just anything, she could have actually won. But they blame it all on the black community. Notice they didn't even say anything about the Latino community, because they could have said, hey, well, Obama was trying to do, all of these different, what do they call it, executive orders. They could have tried to use that argument and say, hey, we're doing something. The black community lost, I don't know how much wealth during the time of Obama. And so the argument is that we should still just get out there and vote and just be happy that we got some Democrats in there. This guy.
Question. How do you remove someone out of a government system when we all live in government systems.
Okay, being literal, absolutely, we all live in a government system. Absolutely. However, you can do things to remove most government from your life.
How?
As far as trying to get yourself out of food stamps,
How?
trying to get yourself out of welfare. You got to go work. You got to get jobs. You got to get out here and go and do it.
So hold up. So somebody. So I'm just curious. So if somebody doesn't have a job, are they not applying to government for unemployment?
Now, I just thought that was a weird tactic that he would take. Of all the things he said there, he jumped on the fact of working as being, or, oh, these people don't have work, as, oh, well, this is some kind of fault on him, or that he's trying to put blame on people who are not working. Oh, this guy.
Benefits or insurance?
Absolutely.
So how can that person remove themselves out of government when that's what government provides?
Absolutely. Well, my thing is trying to make sure you're not allowing the government to finance your whole entire life. As long as you're giving somebody the right to feed you, you're giving them the right to starve you as well. People are living their whole lives off the government systems. It was at the day the government decided, well, we're going to cut food stamps, we're going to cut this and cut that. What we going to do? We have people out here living off those systems. So I believe in teaching our people how to go survive without the government. That's not big.
But again, though, you keep saying, I'm trying to understand.
And see, the kid is saying that he's not saying literally that you can literally get yourself out of all government systems. I mean, most of us went to a public school, or if we have kids, our kids maybe go to public school. When we're born, we have to go to a hospital. You know, we have to file birth records, death records, marriage license, all of these things that we still have to go through the government. So he's being a little bit facetious here, in my opinion. I mean, he knows that the kid is not talking about literally just separating yourself from society like this is the pioneer days or something.
I'm saying how to survive without the government. You act as if a young black boy who comes into your program will not interface with government in any way. They will interface with government still driving down the street. They will interface with government trying to get a driver's license. They will interface with government trying to get a voter ID. They will interface with government trying to apply for financial aid to go to college. So they're going to interface with government in many ways. The point I'm saying is, doesn't it make sense that black folks should be engaged in a political process to where we are impacting policy that also impacts us? Or are you saying that doesn't matter at all?
I only believe that we should breed politicians in our community that we raise ourselves. People that are funded by white Democrats, white Republicans alike. If you were funded by anybody white, I don't believe you have the best interest of our community at all. I don't care who you are. Whether you be Raphael Warnock, John Ossoff, Kelly Loeffler, or what's his name? The other guy that was running. I don't care who you are. You don't have the best interest of the black community at heart because we are not funding their campaigns fully. I believe that we have to raise our own politicians, which is what we're trying to do in our program. We are going to put them in government. Some of them want to go run for positions, but we know we bred them in our communities.
But wait, hold on. See, not
nothing white Democrats that came and gave us and spent millions of dollars on all these ads and got folks all riled up about these guys for you to come keep black people remain a Democrat Party and a Republican Party side chick. They only come to the black community when they want our vote to get off and then disappear. We don't never see them again.
But here's the thing that's interesting.
In fact, to add to what he's saying, I remember many of the community rec centers and like all the maintenance on the parks in our area, and just like all the programs, like we used to have like all these different after school programs. There was like night hoops programs during the summer. There was all kind of different programs for kids to do. And for many kids where they had a single parent household and their parents were always at work, it gave them a structured environment to be in that was safe, monitored, with supervisors. Excuse me. And so it kept kids out of trouble, myself included. And I remember when they started cutting all those programs, and those were Democrats who were in charge when they were cutting those programs. So it shows that even when you're voting, what are you actually getting? What is it to stave off the monster? At least with Republicans in power, they don't hide their disdain for the people. And so you're able to see their moves and at least fight them. The Democrats sit here and lie to your face and pretend like they're really going to do something. And then when the pressure gets turned up a little bit too much, or some of them think that they might get booted out of office, then they'll give you a half-ass measure of something that you might get, and or some people will get it, and then they start they send it over to the budgeting office, and then they start, well, we don't know, well, let's means test this and let's means test that. And that's what continues to happen over and over and over, while they have no problem writing checks to all their corporate millionaire buddies and billionaire buddies. They have no problems cutting regulations right and left, letting them be able to move their money all over the place, pay no taxes, even though they're worth more money than they could spend in 4 lifetimes. Or in fact, probably even more than that. I mean, some of that money that they have is uncalculable. I mean, it's literally more than countries have. And yet they still treat their workers like they're some kind of pharaoh whipping slaves out in the desert. I mean, I've heard Amazon have reports of people getting fired for going to the restroom. Here, I'll give a little bit more, but I think you guys get the gist of it. And if you don't, check out the rest of the whole interview. Or if you
from government,
if you need me to link you to wherever it is, remind me, and I will put it in the chat in the video when it pops back up on YouTube.
but then you say you're raising them to run. So which one is it?
When I say remove from government, I'm saying keep as much government out of your life as possible.
But how are you raising people to run for office?
Say it again.
How are you then raising people to run for office if you don't want folks involved in government? So here's the deal. Okay, how about this? So the young men that you're raising up to be in government, how in the world are they going to be able to be effective when you have Republicans who are passing voter suppression laws, and then you're saying, well, that's really our issue? Aren't they making it harder for the very folks you trying to raise up to get elected?
I didn't say our issue. I said that's not my issue that I'm fighting.
But like you just said you're raising up politicians.
Again, that's for when the children, what they want to do. I'm not raising them directly just saying, oh, you got to go be a politician. No, for the kids that want to go in that area, I have mentors for them to go into that area.
But shouldn't we be fighting voter suppression laws that make it harder for them to get elected?
Mr. Roland, if you can't go get, what's the problem with black folk going to get voter ID?
No, the issue is not a voter ID.
Okay.
No, wait. Hold on. Stop. Hold up. You just said what?
Yeah, I'll leave it at that. I mean, I guess you all can get the gist of this. All he does throughout the rest of that interview is just treat him as if he's talking to a Republican operative and he has to just go for blood. And it's just, to me, what Roland Martin is, 50-something years old, and this kid is 21. It's just pretty disgusting that this is what we have to look up to, so-called, from our elders. I mean, we go back throughout history. I mean, I can go back to either my great-grand or great-great-grand who was going through the slave periods. And I can think of my great-grandmother who, she literally lived through the riots of Tulsa, Oklahoma. Then my grandmother having to go through Jim Crow, segregation, the black codes, sundown towns. And then getting to the civil rights era when my mom is born. Still having to deal with desegregation. Still dealing with all kind of racism. Still dealing with being a woman and trying to get decent pay in the workforce. And we're talking about back in the 80s, 70s, and 80s. Now, my generation goes through having to deal with redlining, having to deal with piss poor schools, having to deal with the school to prison pipeline, having to deal with the crack epidemic, having to deal with our government smuggling drugs into our community. All of these things unpunished. Oh, not to mention the crime bill right after. They throw drugs into our community and then throw a crime bill out, which led to most of these laws all the way up to stop and frisk. And Kamala Harris, all the crap that she did. And his advice for us is we just need to keep on doing this with the very people who are locking us up. Now, he's so worried about all these voting rights and things like that. And all that is changing blue to red, blue to red, blue to red. But on the big things that are happening, the big things that are actually getting passed, the Democrats are right there along with them, stabbing us in the backs. And I'm sorry to burst any bubbles here, but if you have faith in this system, then God help you. I will leave it at that. Thank you all for joining me. Shout out to Thomas, I see in the chat, and Cross King. First time seeing you. Hope to see you again. I will be hopping on randomly doing more lives on this channel. I've kind of been working on my other two projects. For those who don't know about it, what I've been thinking, I decided that I'm going to drop the panels for a while and just kind of focus more on doing back to some of the work I used to do here for the channel. And for my other two channels, some of you might already know and follow the channel, The Political Matrix, where we, I guess, go a little bit more edgier in politics, like, I guess, in world events and stuff. So this show would be my, I guess, PG-13, and that would be not rated. And then my other show goes more into my faith and understanding the Bible and its implications on the real world. If you are a Bible believer, I welcome you to join. If you're not a Bible believer and you just want to find out some interesting things about history, you will find out a lot of things there. I have tons of information that I am going to put out on that channel, Hebrew Apologetics with Marcus Cage. So I guess the easiest thing, if you have trouble remembering any of that, is just put in Marcus Cage and you will find me somewhere. That's it. You all have a good one. Hopefully you all have a great week. Take care.